Hey guys, welcome back. If you have been following me on Instagram, you would have saw probably 2 months ago now, I ordered 2 Koyudo brushes. Koyudo brushes are made in Kumano, Japan. This seems to be the region where Japanese natural hair, synthetic hair brushes are made because of the artisans and craftsmanship in that area. So I've really been wanting to try these brushes. Both of these brushes are from the Fupa line. And if I remember correctly, the Fupa line has brushes meant for cream and liquid products. This hybrid here, however, is an exception because this side is synthetic while this side is natural goat hair, and you can actually use powder products with this brush. So extremely interesting that they decided to do a dual-sided brush meant for multiple different uses. The one I have on my right hand is the Fupa 05P small angled brush for liquid and cream foundations. And it's angled, really interesting here, it's angled just right here and comes up completely flat. All the bristles here is uniform. I don't have the non-angled version to compare against. I'm hoping to add those into my collection in the future. But if you've noticed recently how airbrushed and even my makeup looks, it is all thanks to this brush. I'm speechless. I don't know how else to say it or describe it other than it looks really flawless. It looks very even. I know makeup artists generally prefer using brushes to apply foundation. I get that it gives you more coverage, fuller coverage, and that it looks more seamless, which is great in photography, in film, television. Just, it looks great on camera. This type of application. Now that I've got to experience it myself, tried it on different foundations, it's hard to imagine myself going to other types of foundation application tools at this time, unless there's some kind of major innovation, but I'll be using this indefinitely. So I do have a demo to follow to show you how I apply it, but there's really not much to it. It's very easy to use. I apply the foundation on the back of my hand. I'll go in with the brush, dab it like this, and just start applying. I talk about kind of the pressure. It's really not that much different from using a dampened sponge, and the way you work your product is you're not so much bouncing it onto your skin like you would a sponge, but you're applying it and going like this, just short strokes, maybe even outward or downward, and you're doing that pretty frequently, but it goes by quick. It does add a little bit more time than using a sponge. I will trade off that extra time for this kind of finish. And a little bit more information on this brush. This is the Fupa 05 large, and it's dual-sided. One side is natural hair, goat hair. The other side is synthetic hair. The synthetic hair side takes up smaller area, I guess. When you look at the brush like this, it's very obvious. And it's really meant for liquid creams foundation, but also powder foundation or powder application. These brushes, while they're described as it's foundation, but you can use it for any kind of product that might be good with this type of brush. So I use it for now exclusively my cream or stick contour, and it works great. You'll see in the demo. I get great coverage and it's easily blended. It's just a very pleasant application experience. I use this flat side here to actually blend out the product, and sometimes if I want to just get a little bit more shading for a more dramatic effect, I'll even go in further and do circular motions with the brush. And the cream product that I mentioned earlier, if I somehow, today I'm a little bit heavy-handed than I am usually, I'll just go in and blend it out a little bit more, do a little bit more work, and the finish is always just looking great. You get that shaded look, just slims down your face, and it's really easy to achieve it. You don't have to work too hard. Big fan of this brush. I'm not into mineral foundations, but I figure if I ever tried a mineral foundation, this would be my first go-to brush to get that applied onto my face. So let's head on to the demo. I will share my final thoughts with you guys afterwards. Those of you who have been following my channel know that my go-to cream contour is NARS, the Multiple. This is in the color Altai. Altai has been discontinued and I managed to grab another one before they're all gone. So we're gonna go in with the Fupa 05 Large. So first, I'm gonna use the synthetic side of this brush to get product off of the stick. And synthetic brushes are good for creams and liquids. I think it grabbed a really good amount of product. And then just like this, I'm gonna go along to where I wanna place the contour. And typically it's gonna be in the hollows of your cheeks. And also I like to put a little bit of contour here just along the jawline. And all I'm doing is using the side that I picked up the product with. I'm just gonna do that. I'm gonna grab some more, apply it to the other side. And I'm also putting some on my forehead. I can leave it like this if I like the placement of the shading. What I normally do is I'll go in with the flat side of the brush, so that does include the goat hair side, and I'll go in and blend it out. But you can see it's already giving me that hollowed effect. And I'll even bring a little bit of product down here for some added definition on the neck. I could also use a little bit of color on my nose on both sides. I could use this brush and I just applied a little bit more product here and I could go along like this for a very soft effect. Or given that this is in stick form, very handy, I could just draw 2 lines off the side. Just like that. Go in, blend it out. For foundation today, we're gonna use YSL Fusion Ink Foundation. This is in the color B30. Fusion Ink is a very liquid formula. I'm gonna put this on the back of my hand. Taking the Fupa 13 Small, we're going to dab the brush and start working the product onto the skin. The motion I'm using for this brush is just like that. I place the product on and then I start blending downwards, outwards, getting more coverage. It's very light motions and the pressure feels about the same as I would use on a sponge. I find that this flat part here really distributes the product well. And I don't have the non-angle version to compare against, but I'm really pretty happy with this angled version. It gets into this area, like these crevices here, really effectively every single time. Every single time. Liquid foundations, I've never had any problems with, and I've used it on the YSL cushion as well. You guys know I do enjoy cushion foundations, and I've just never had any issues. I do feel like you need more product using the brush than a sponge, because with a sponge, when it's dampened, you can spread the product further. Whereas with the brush, you're placing the product on your face, and it does feel like you need maybe another application or another half a pump of foundation to get the coverage you want. Because the brush doesn't absorb product the way a wet sponge does, what you get is really even placement, and on top of that, I feel like you get really good coverage. So if you like getting more coverage out of your foundation, even if you're someone who enjoys light to medium foundations, I find this gives you that kind of result every single time. Just a little bit of added coverage, a very airbrushed finish to your application. So all my makeup is done now, and I want to get up just a little bit closer so you guys can see what the application looks like. And you'll see exactly what I mean by how airbrushed everything is. And just these areas right here, you have good coverage. And I'm really impressed with how everything looks every single time. Like I mentioned in the demo, I've used cushion foundations, liquid foundation, something very emollient like the YSL Fusion ink, as well as the Tom Ford new Traceless Soft Matte Foundation, which is a little bit creamier, but they all kind of just have this very airbrushed effect. So I think if you are somebody who enjoy using light to medium coverage, you could probably still get a little bit more coverage from your product just because of how brushes work, and especially with goat hair. So for me, this is a new way of applying foundation. I have, since receiving this brush and started using it, I haven't gone back to using a dampened sponge. I do think the sponge is very versatile. You could use a sponge to work in your concealer, you can blend out your contour and apply foundation all within that one product. And with the angled brush, you could probably do something to that effect of what a sponge can do, except every time you switch from a concealer to contour and then to foundation, you do have to clean it off because there's not that much surface area to work with. Whereas a sponge, it's big enough that you can avoid this part and just use this for your foundation, and you can just use the sides to work in contours and cream. I've thought about getting the non-angled version and even the bigger version of the angled brush to see what that would do, how it's different. I think what I can expect from the bigger angled brush is that I can get foundation applied faster because there's more coverage. But with anything that is smaller in size, you get more control over it. I think it just depends on personal preference. Moving along to the dual brush here, I do have the large version. The reason why I got the large versus the small, there's really no reason why. I think I felt like, well, if I'm gonna try Koyudo products, especially from their Fupa line, let me try a small version of one brush, and then why not try a large version of the other? I mean, I think it was very subconscious, but that's what I ended up ordering. And with the large brush, I find that using it for contouring is perfect. The area it covers is just great. I can get the product worked in really quickly. I know the brush, according to the product description, doesn't talk about using it for shading. It's actually for use on liquid foundation for the goat or natural hair side of it, and then for powders on the synthetic side. But you can certainly use both to do the work of blending. But using it as contour, as shading, just works really, really well. And if you have a powder formula for shading, this seems to fit the bill too, because it's meant for different formula use. So those are my thoughts on the two Koyudo brushes. And because of my good experience with them, I can't wait to add more to my collection. I'm really interested in the mineral foundation, flat top kabuki brush that they have, and just even trying the smaller and bigger version of each one of these. So thanks for watching. I hope you guys are doing well. Stay safe. See you guys later. Bye.